Hi everybody and welcome to this new episode on buying property Malaysia basics, right? And today we're going to cover a topic which is buying landed or condo. Which one is better, or which are the pros and cons, right? So there's no right or wrong in this question. I mean, it all depends on your needs. And we're going to go through this video. What are the pros and cons on buying landed or condo in Malaysia? The reason why we're doing this video is also because we got a lot of feedback recently. A lot of people are asking these questions about whether they should buy landed or buy condo. And for those guys of you who are watching, Mr. Lu from 1M65, shout out to him. His videos are great. I've been watching some of his videos as well. And Mr. Lu recently bought a semi-detached in Austin in Johor, and he's been talking about it recently. I think he paid around 1.6, 1.7 million ringgit, which is a nice property to buy. And so a lot of people are thinking about following his footsteps, right? And in the course of their research and looking at what properties in JB to buy, they may also have come across some of these questions whether they should buy condo or buy landed. So today we're going to try and cover this in this video. So let's talk about the pros or the benefits of buying landed in Johor. So number one is, of course, you get a lot of space, lah, right? If you look like for example Mr. Lu's house, right, in Austin, right, or any landed property in Johor, generally speaking, landed in Malaysia are bigger than landed in Singapore. So a typical terrace house in Singapore, right, will be smaller than a typical terrace house in Johor. So you get a lot of space, right? And we're talking about a lot of space. We're talking about 4 bedroom, right? Everybody have their own bedroom. Most likely you have your own ensuite bathroom as well. You have a dry kitchen, wet kitchen, large living area, large dining area. You can fit 10 people in your dining hall, most likely. You can have your own study room, your own library if you want to, right? And these are the benefits of getting a landed property, right? You have and a lot of space for storage, right? Which is something which is very rare in Singapore today. So, and of course, if you ask me from the emotional perspective, is that you get to use this kind of space, especially for family gatherings, barbecues, family dinner, Chinese New Year dinner. We had a customer we know many years ago who bought a bungalow in Horizon Hills. What she said, it reminded her of the need that she can do Chinese New Year gathering like when she was young. When in the old days she was young. In the old days people like to have big family gatherings, right? Nowadays it's not so easy to do because of lack of space, right? So she bought a bungalow in Horizon Hills in JB for that purpose. Well, of course, yeah, like, you don't buy property just for Chinese New Year, right? But I mean that's to give you an idea, right? What kind of stuff you can do with the space that you get. So that's the number one benefit of buying landed property in Malaysia. Number two is a lot of the newer landed property in Malaysia are gated, guarded, which means they have security, they have CCTV, right? You do pay some maintenance fees every month that contribute to this security. So the newer projects, especially in the suburbs, right? Austin, Bukit Indah, Skudai, Taman Sutra, all these are gated, guarded, right? And the security is quite safe. You don't worry about security. Very rarely there'll be break-in, if ever, right? If any, also maybe many years one time, right? Security is pretty good in these places, right? Of course, if you're considering landed which are in the older areas like in JB town, right, or older landed property, right, then they may not be gated guarded, right. In fact, some people ask me, should I buy landed in town center, like in JB town center? You can, but this landed property, like I said, no gated guarded, very old. They could be anywhere from 40 to 60 years old, maybe even older, right, and they require a lot of renovation, maybe rebuilding, right, a lot of work to get the house into conditions that you want to stay today, right? Like even many Malaysians also don't prefer to buy all these old landed houses because a lot of work required, right? If you buy, you must have a plan to refurbish or to rebuild or to renovate extensively, right? Because otherwise the house is quite unlivable or very basic, right? If you want to buy all this old landed property in town areas. So that's why I said a lot of people still prefer to buy new landed in the suburbs. The other benefit, of course, is that landed property retain value better than high rise, right? Also, in property downturns like the recent one in Malaysia right now, right, landed property will hold price better, and over the long run, it's easier to sell landed property as well. So if you have this concern, right? Yeah, landed property hold value better because Malaysians still want to buy landed property, right? It's still the property of choice. Even in Singapore, right? If you can afford it, you want to buy landed property in Singapore. So similarly in Malaysia, a lot of Malaysians who have the budget, they will want to buy landed property as well. So what are the negatives or cons of buying a landed property? Number one is maintenance. I think a lot of people underestimate, I repeat this, underestimate the amount of effort that goes into maintaining a landed property. Landed property requires a lot of maintenance, especially if you got outdoor area, grass to cut, outdoor paint to do, right? And the house is big. So when the house is big, that means more cleaning, right? We had a joke last time, one couple also from Singapore, they bought property in Malaysia, landed property. They say they go in every month to clean the house, right? So it's weird, right? You buy a house to clean the house, right? That's sad, right? So I mean, you don't want to buy a house to clean the house, right? So yeah, so it may be more maintenance required, right? There is no management you can ask to help you do maintenance. You have to sort it out yourself, find your own technician, find your own cleaner, find your own repairman, right, to handle the maintenance of the house for you. And like I said, because house is bigger, so there's a lot more work involved. Number two is renovation. Simply because the house is larger, so expect higher renovation costs as well, right? Sometimes I won't say it's cheaper for the amount of work compared to Singapore, but you may spend sometimes equivalent amount of money because house is bigger, right? So carpentry works, instead of you may do 6 feet in a condo, but now in a landed you may be doing 10, 12, 14 feet, right? So all these add up to cost for renovation, especially if you're buying a house that is already non-renovated, right? So these are hidden costs when it comes to owning landed property. Second is of course yield. Rental yield is lower. If you buy a landed property like for like, right, your rental yield as a percentage will be lower than high rise, right? Same in Singapore, same in Malaysia, right? Because a landed property typically costs much more for the same amount of rent that you can collect versus a condo. So that's also a negative if you intend to rent out landed property. The next negative is probably location. When you buy a landed property, you are in the landed enclave, right, a landed area. So it's very unlikely that you got shop next to you or amenities next to you. So you cannot really walk to restaurant, walk to supermarket. That might be quite hard. You probably need to drive, right? There's no easy access to amenities or services if you stay in a landed property. So very likely you have to drive, right, or take Grab, right? And it may be troublesome if you don't drive at all, right? You have to Grab to everywhere that you go, even to buy groceries or buy lunch. Very, very troublesome, right? So if you don't drive, then landed is difficult, right? Because like in Malaysia, a lot of people drive, so and you do not have easy access to amenities if you stay in a landed property. The next negative is probably when it comes to location, because as I said, a lot of these newer landed gated guarded are in the suburb area, so we are talking about half an hour to 45 minutes away from town. So if you're going to come in through Singapore by MRT or by bus, right, in the future, you have to then travel another 30 to 45 minutes to get to your landed area, right? And again, if you don't drive, this could be troublesome, right? And you're not exactly buying prime location in terms of the map. But that's not to say that the suburb location is no good, right? A lot of Malaysians prefer to stay suburb because they are newer, better design, right? And there may be services and all that in your area, like just that you have to drive, right? And as not exactly near to Singapore, right? Like I said, 30, 40 minutes drive to get to town center. From there, you can get into Singapore. So if that's something that concerns you, right, the exact proximity to Singapore, right? Most landed property tend to be in the suburbs, which are away from Singapore. So price range, I've listed the price range here on this presentation. So roughly for terrace houses, we're looking anywhere from 600,000 to R1,000,000. So in most likelihood, a lot of Singaporeans cannot buy this because Malaysia has a rule that you need to buy above R1,000,000 for foreigners, right? You can then, for foreigners, you can then buy cluster houses, which are anywhere from 1 million to maybe 1.4 million ringgit. Semi-detached will be anywhere from 1.1 for non-gated guarded, right? To gated guarded ones can easily be above 2 million to 3 million for the nicer ones, bigger ones. A lot of it depends on size also. Bungalows maybe around 2 million for the non-gated guarded in town, to maybe above 3 million or more for the nicer ones. Again, depends a lot on the size, right, of these bungalows. Okay, let's talk about the pros or the benefits of buying high-rise condos. Now, condos, the good thing is typically if you buy a good condo, they will be in a good location, right? Because most developers also, when they build a condo, they will take into account the location, right? Nobody wants to buy a condo in a bad location, right? If the developer built a condo in a bad location, then that project is screwed, right? But so a lot of condos will be in good locations, right? Ideally near to transportation, near to food, amenities, supermarket downstairs. So in condos, most cases, good condos, you come down from the condo, you'll be in walking distance to food and amenities, right? And you tend to be in a more prime location or nearer to JB town, not that far away from JB city. So this is the one benefit of buying condos, right? Like one condo that I'm marketing today, RNF Princess Cove. This is walking distance to the future MRT to Singapore. To me, that's a very big plus point. You want to be if you're going to buy a condo, you're going to buy a condo that is going to be near amenities, got supermarket downstairs, got cinema, food options, restaurants, right? You want all these things to be near proximity to your condo, which is something that you cannot get in a landed property. Number two, of course, with condos, you get facilities, swimming pools, gated, of course, security is going to be better in the condo as well. You have gym, right? And normally in the condo, you have high rise, you can have great views, right? Some of the condos are in Putri Harbour, right? They have very, very nice views because purely on location, right? Unblocked views. And of course, in Malaysia, they are not so densely built, right? So there are not so many HDB blocks blocking your view everywhere. So in Malaysia, your high rise tends to get pretty good views, right? A lot of high rise in Malaysia have pretty decent views in Malaysia. Number three is that, of course, with as part of the strata development, you have a management body, right? So the management body will take care of common area like swimming pool, or that you pay maintenance fees every month. They help you take care of the common area, so you require less maintenance for your condo, right? So if you're gonna be the type that comes to Malaysia like a weekend home or long term plan for retirement home, right? Then of course a condo is easier for you, right? If you're planning for retirement, you don't want too much hassle to manage a property, or you like me, right? I have a landed property in Malaysia as well, so I thought about it for a long time. Hey, landed property in Malaysia, nice, right? But as you get older, you think about it, don't want so much hassle or maintenance, right? As long as you're space efficient, right, and you can make the best use of the space, actually condo is fine as well. So if you're the type that don't want to spend too much time on maintenance, right, then condo can be right for you because a lot of the maintenance is lower and already taken care of by other people. And of course, rental yield for condo is better. If you're buying purely for rental perspective to gain rental income, right, you can buy those condos which are near to Singapore, where a lot of the Malaysians moving to Singapore, a lot of those Singaporeans who are working in Singapore, they need to travel to Malaysia on a regular basis. They want to buy condos in good location near to Singapore. You will get above average rental yield for such condos, definitely better than landed, right? And high demand for rental for these purposes. So if you want from that perspective, from that investment perspective, then of course condos are going to perform better than landed. So what are the negatives of buying a condo or high rise? Generally speaking, you're paying more expensive, right, per square foot basis compared to landed. So the amount of money you pay for condo versus landed is higher, right? And basically because condos are more complicated to build, right? That's why you're paying a higher per square foot. So it's more expensive versus landed. And of course, the other main negative for condo is that during property down cycles like the recent one that we have, condos are affected more because when prices go down, landed prices will hold better, condo prices will go down more because there's simply more supply of condo versus landed, and the locals will buy landed where they can or retreat to landed where they can during a down cycle. So prices for high rise, I'm going to quote it in a per square foot basis. So in suburb areas further away from JB town, we're looking anywhere from 500 ringgit to maybe 800 ringgit per square foot nowadays. You can get such prices today, even in locations like Medini or Putri Harbour or Austin, right? 500 to 800 ringgit is quite reasonable, right? If you come to nearer to town, especially as the nearer you get to Singapore, the nearer you get to the MRT station, the future RTS, to Woodlands, right, you're going to be looking at 800 to 1,000 to maybe 1,004, 1,005 per square foot for some of the super prime areas in JB Town today. And that's especially because JB Town prices are getting higher and higher because everybody appreciates the distance, right, getting to Singapore, right, which is a majority of the Singapore economy. A lot of Malaysians who work in Singapore want that accessibility and will pay a higher price. So that's why condos in town centre will be more expensive. So ultimately, buying a landed or condo, there is no right or wrong. It all depends on your objectives, right? Are you buying for own stay? Are you buying for investment? When you say buy investment, are you looking at long-term capital appreciation, or you want a property that you're more concerned that doesn't give you good cash flow, that you don't negative cash flow, or at least you can have positive cash flow if possible, depending on how much loan you take, right? With high rentability, right? If you're buying for own stay, then do you want it to have a big space? Like if you're married and have a lot of kids, an extended family, you want to do Chinese New Year, then maybe you buy landed lah, right? If you just for yourself, your wife, maybe some close friends, a condo could be fine, right? Less maintenance, not so much hassle, right? Condo, and you want convenience, easy to go down to food, all that. So it all depends on your perspective. How much time you're going to spend in JB, right? What's your budget? Because if you got budget constraints, then condo is better because you can buy condos which are cheaper, lower quantum overall, right? Because landed you're saying anywhere from 1 million ringgit and above, but condo you can buy below 1 million ringgit, right? Some locations, right? So it depends what you're doing. There's no right or 100% correct answer for everyone, right? As a property agent in Malaysia, right, I do sell condos, I do sell landed property as well. So if you're interested, you can come and find me, drop me a text below. I will try to find something suitable to our requirements today, right? We do promote different projects or different types of properties depending on your needs, right, and guide you through the whole buying process, right, in Malaysia. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you like what I have to share, do like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube. And we have on my description as well our TikTok and how to register to our Facebook, as well as our email mailing list to get further information and news from us. And watch out for more information and videos from us. Thank you very much. Hope to see you guys soon. Bye bye.